Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
Gentle guys.
I was about to say gentle folk. It's like, where am I going with this? Welcome back. Another episode of Wine Wednesday. If you joined us for the stream this morning on Good Morning NASDAQ, welcome back. I don't think we did Wine Wednesday last week.
Yeah, we did.
We did? We didn't do the week before. The week before last week was the boot camp. Took a day off then, so that's what I'm thinking about. We missed. But come back 2 weeks in a row. Insane market. I'm sure we'll talk all about it, but I just want to say hello to the chat. Welcome in. Knives, Wayne, Fran, Wayne again, Knives, twice as well. Nathan, the usual.
Is that how your brain works? You can't function. You can't skip their name once you've already read it. You got to read it
You got to
again.
read twice. Chris B, the Final Fantasy
We've talked
guru.
about this, Dom.
Or not Final
It's
Fantasy,
wild.
the Fantasy NCAA guru, Chris B. Thomas.
Was Chris B already in the room or no?
That's a question for Chris. Chris, would this be
Chris B. He
Chris,
won the thing.
Yeah, Chris, have you been in Clover before? So are you just getting 3 more free months on top of your already subscription, or is this your first time in? We're very curious. Knives starts it off hot
up,
with saying,
Edgar?
"Let's anger Dom again."
Oh, that's one of my specialties.
When did we anger Dom the first time?
I'm slow to anger. I'm a lover.
But once you do poke the bear comes out.
Yeah.
Chris says, this will be the first time. Nice. All right, Chris. Well, welcome.
That's what I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You should be getting an email if you haven't already to get access to those 3 months. But if you don't, in the next couple of days, feel free to reach out. We'll make sure that gets done. But support is aware. But anyways, guys, the markets. Well, actually, before we talk about the market, I'm skipping the best part. What are we drinking? What are we having?
All right. I'll go first. I got myself a nice little white wine called a Chablis.
Chablis.
And yeah, I'm on a Chablis tango these days. I was having beer the last couple times. Now I'm having Chablis.
Ned Schneebly?
Is that like a Sauvignon Blanc, or is that just?
It's a Chablis.
That's literally okay.
Come on,
So
Kyle.
it's a whole new brand or style
Brand new.
type.
Yeah, like it's not a Sauvignon Blanc, it's not a Pinot Grigio, it's a Chablis.
Wow, why have I never heard of that
Oh,
before?
actually, grape varietals, Chardonnay.
Okay, I thought
There we are.
Yeah, I thought Chablis was just what it was called, but it's still got a
right.
type,
Say Shay it
thought I-
again.
I never
What is
thought I
it
was
called,
smart.
Kyle?
Chablis. Chablis lying to you, dude. She be lying.
Mhm.
I just have an orange Zevia. Back off the vacation vibes, so I'm back to a non-alcoholic wine Wednesdays.
We got more Zevia.
Zevia, you don't have those?
I've never. That's a new word for me too.
Zero sugar soda.
Wow,
It's like a 0 calorie. It tastes like an orange Fanta.
Nice. Well, when you
Fanta,
said Zevia, it made me
Wanta,
think of
Fanta,
stevia,
Fanta.
which is also a
I
sweetener.
think it's made with stevia.
Oh, there we go. Zevia. Stevia
Yeah,
with
it's
0
stevia.
calories.
I think it's worldwide. I don't think it's just a Midwest thing.
No, it probably is. I just never looked into it. What do I have here? Giardino? Gardino? It's not G. It's not Guard. It's Giard.
GR.
Yard.
Giardino. Pinot Grigio. From the lovely,
Giardino.
from the lovely land of Venezia.
Really?
And, tastes pretty good. I've already had a little bit.
How old is that bottle?
Opened an hour, or not an hour. Opened 20 minutes ago.
Really?
So very fresh. Yes. Not
That's a nice glass you have.
Yeah. Nice.
Wait, can you show off the glass?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice little like teardrop shape.
Yeah.
Look at that stem.
Nice, and it's a very tall glass.
What are you supposed to drink out of those?
You should fill it to the top.
Was your what to the top?
Fill it to the top.
Oh,
I
fill
think you're
it to
supposed
the
to drink
And just see what happens.
Heard something magical happens if you fill the job.
And then do it again. Do it twice.
And then tell us your
yeah.
secrets.
Oh. Well, anyways, Francis, Huddie's getting fancy now. Where is Huddie? Is Huddie getting fancy with the glasses, the anti-blue light glasses there?
Has Huddie ever not been fancy?
Yeah, when has he been non-fancy? Would be the question I have.
He would probably take it. He probably takes offense to that.
I do consider myself kind of fancy at all times.
There we go. He owns it.
He wears like paint splattered jeans. Okay, only
And diamonds on my wrist.
The fanciest.
Diamonds on my wrist and ice in my veins.
I'm not lying.
Is that a rap song or something?
I don't know. I think so.
So, did you cover any NMAX today? Just wondering.
Not a share.
Oh my God.
However, I kind of wish I did as I got it close to 30, but then it bounced partly due to the news. So then I said, well, I'm not going to, if I didn't cover at 31, I'm not covering at 35. And then it pulled a little bit
Only
more.
you could get away with that.
Yeah. And so I just think, we're going to take our chances. This goes lower again tomorrow. And if it doesn't, then we're going to hold again till Friday. And if it doesn't, then we're going to hold again till Monday. We're just going to keep rolling with it. But I do like that it didn't bounce any more than it did, because if it went back green, I'd have been really scared, because the markets would have been pulling it, and I don't like that. Excuse me. All right, 123 Jammer Max says, Dom, did you end up taking any first green days today? Also, would you have considered AEHL as a first green day to the daily breakout today?
Oh boy.
Wait.
So two questions there. Any first
First
green days
one,
today?
I took AREB, but it was like in and out for a loss. I bought it as kind of, I think, an annoyance thing after I missed it on the initial one. So once it came back down below where I should have been in from the earlier in the morning, but then it like immediately broke low of day right after that. So it was like a 20-second trade, my favorite kind of loss. I'm trying to see, what is it? AEHL. Would you consider AEHL a first green day? Oh, like today, was it a first green day into a breakout? Not necessarily. I guess you'd call it a first green day if you want. Run wasn't that crazy. I don't even think, barely 100% move in one day from twos to the fours. Did have two red days right back to where it came from. But volume was pretty bad. Like under $1 million volume. So not one that I would have been aware of or paying attention to, but did end up playing out like that. That's the look. Usually want some bigger runners on the front side before doing that, but that is pretty much the look from day one through the last 2 days, and did break out through the 495 area, and actually went to the eights. Did anyone else? I didn't see this once today.
I did not until I scanned, and then now it's nothing to me because it failed. But
No, it's dead. But that was actually, yeah, I would have looked at that more as a breakout than a first green day. But it did have to travel quite far to get there. But much better volume today.
yeah, big time. By like triple, looks like quadruple.
But once the volume came in, it was already kind of gone. He didn't have a ton of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Flashnet says, Kyle, did you long Tesla again today? What a move on that thing. No, I did not. I was not really watching it because, I don't really have I wasn't really looking to long the market to begin with. I kind of regret maybe not trying to buy it on Monday, but after Monday happened, now it's like either it's going to panic to new lows again, or it's just going to chop around like it has been, and I don't really have a predictable approach to those. Now, if I was a headline buyer, today would have been an A+ setup, because you buy the headline and you're up 20 points on the SPY and QQQ almost immediately, which is like crazy. But so no, I did not trade Tesla today. Although there is quite the support now in the low 200s, which is pretty sick. But yeah, no day trade really there that I have any idea what to do with. So. Pretty impressive hold though. Tesla would only double bottom while the QQQs and the S&Ps fall like 10% over that period. JNVR. I didn't look at JNVR today. What did that do?
Nothing.
Looking good.
Dom says it's looking good. Super liquid. Oh my god.
I'm just thinking about all the shorts that if you're still stuck in this thing, watching it today was so they were forcing it at 35. They were not letting it through. Um, I think it could be a breakout. Could be one of those liquidy short squeezes, liquidity traps, whatever you want to call it. But we see it. I feel like we see it often on the stocks that come from like cheap to like $50. I think a lot of times they break out again. Did RGC do something like that?
Certainly holding up way better than most would expect. But also, this is the one that had news that actually had legitimate fundamental news. So I think naturally it's going to have more staying power than your typical crappy short. Joshua. Great question here, Joshua, but you'd be asking the wrong guys on the correct answer. Do you guys think there's any edge in trading SPY, Tesla, NVIDIA on a daily basis? Considering neither of us do that, I can't tell you with certainty there's an edge there. I have heard of other traders that do so, but I don't know their levels of profitability. So I've heard there's traders, that do it. Whether that means they are just printing left and right, I don't know. I know there's plenty of algos on like SPY, and they probably make plenty, or market makers on SPY, and they make plenty of money. They make billions. Citadel makes ungodly amounts of money, but it's not really an edge for us. So I don't know. Is that the answer?
Do we think there is? I'll bet you there is.
Yeah,
I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
But we don't know it. We don't do it.
That doesn't sound as much fun. I don't know why. I know that we always say trading should be boring and follow your system. So that like coming to the market every day, trading the SPY sounds so depressing. I don't know why. That just sounds so like it's fun having new tickers. I feel like.
Yeah, you're getting new experiences versus
New friends.
yeah, the same thing every
Versus
day.
yeah, it's like being like monogamous in the stock market and like sometimes the SPY is really nice to you and other times it's like, dude, we are fighting pretty hard right now. I don't know if it's gonna work out. Like
we're gonna have to talk again tomorrow about
yeah,
this.
like we gotta do this again tomorrow. Like
Or my first advice for small cap is like, oh, I'm arguing with this one. Now we're gonna go.
no, it's like ICCT. I'm like, I am so happy I'm done with you. Like, goodbye. You're done. Like, see you at 0.
I got a date with another one tomorrow. Not you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Need some new ones to come into the bar.
Joshua says, do you guys teach a specific playbook in the room or more general trade ideas? I mean, I would argue both. We're probably 70 to 80% a very specific playbook that either Huddie knows or I know or Dom knows, and we all equally kind of know each other's playbook pretty well. But then a general trade ideas. I mean, yeah, if we see something that's fairly knowledgeable that maybe isn't particularly a setup but needs to be taught, or a scenario that is very important to learn about, like, yeah, we 100% cover it. Does that mean that trade idea is technically all of our profits? No, I would say majority of profits is the actual playbooks we have and repeat over and over and again. But like Huddie likes to say, we hunt unicorns, and so if there's a unicorn, we're gonna hunt it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we all have our playbooks though. Like Kyle very specifically has his patterns. Huddie has his. I have mine, and that's where we do most of our teaching. Most of our trades come from that. So a lot of the questions revolve around that. But there's a lot of other style traders in our room, and so it's nice to see people doing different things at different times, and that's perfectly allowed.
I try not to speak on like things I don't know about, right? Like if there's a play and it's something that I comes in my playbook, like that's what I like talking about. Like if I see Tesla moving today. Like, it's not in my playbook. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say, oh, there's like a good trade idea on Tesla today that I wouldn't take. Like, I would never speak on that, right? Like, I do my best not to like look at the noise in the market and really focus on like actionable patterns, right? Like, I still think like far better than necessarily. I'm not like a breaking news headline guy, but I think the first like reversal day the other day was a much better quote unquote pattern than like chasing the headline. But again, I think there's a lot of merit to chasing the headline if you are a breaking news person. I'm just not going to talk about that because I don't really do that. So it's not like I want to talk about other people's trades. I want to really talk about like what's in my wheelhouse.
I agree. Extremely Josh says, are you guys chilling or in your comfort zones, or are you pushing yourself really hard daily to work and progress your skill set or skill development? Extremely Dom, thoughts?
Extremely Dom.
Yeah.
To
extremely
I would
Josh?
say we all are actually working pretty hard on different things about our skill. We've all been trading about anywhere from 9 to 11 years. I don't know how long Huddie's been in. He's been longer than us, and I always say 10 years. But yeah, I mean, Huddy is a system trader now, which is like out of the blue over the past year and a half. Like Kyle's working on sizing up to be Jesus level size. And I had sized down over the past year and tried to get my risk management in check, and trying to really stick to just the patterns I know. I've added a little bit with some of Huddy's system stuff. So I think we all are working really hard on our progress and skill development. It might not be all about finding new patterns and trading different style. I guess I am even doing that with the swing trading stuff. We're all taking it serious.
We're all taking it really serious over here. Huddie?
It's trading is like this like everlong game of optimization. And like in some years, some things will work really well and some things will stay with you for your entire career. And in other years, you got to kind of like work on an aspect. And I think you nailed on the head there, Don, with like, Kyle and your sizing and trying to push it to the next level. And he's constantly doing video lessons and webinars talking about like how he defines which risk. And it's terrifying because I'm not gonna speak for you, Kyle. But there's like an emotional hump to get over to get to the level of dollar risk that he's willing to take on some of these plays at this point. And it's an uncomfortable situation for him, but and he's documenting it the whole way through. And so that's definitely not easy. It's arduous. For me, like, yeah, I completely created new patterns in the past year and a half, and it's a completely different style of trading. And it's very hard to continue to work at and run through data and make sure the data's still good and I'm executing correctly and looking into building bots and this and that. Like it's a crazy journey here in year 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with both these guys' answers. So yeah, we're all working to push ourselves in certain ways. The one area where I would say, well, obviously we've talked about it already with the sizing. Obviously, that's where I'm really pushing myself. Where I would say I'm not pushing myself at all, which in some ways can feel like I'm being lazy or chill zone-ish. But in other ways, I'm perfectly fine not doing that because I don't care to be the trader who trades literally everything under the sun. That's just not who I want to be. Is on like a day like today, right? I've never been a news headline trader. I've never bought news headlines, or very rarely have I ever, and I don't really have any quantitative or well thought out results in that area. But on a day like today, where a PR comes out for the SPY and the QQQ, and all of a sudden, if you just bought that headline, you'd be up, one of the biggest moves in the indexes in literally ever, arguably. It makes you wonder, like, should I have been more prepared? And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, not really. But then it makes me feel a little lazy because it kind of seems that is simple, of like you just bought the headline, but there's other times where it's not that easy, and so. I'm very relaxed and comfortable with the setups I've got. I'm not trying to, grow out, like I said, and develop new strategies per se. Like I'm not going to start buying PR headlines tomorrow to try to make that happen. But the sizing on what I've already am comfortable with is where my lane is being developed, so to speak. So Josh asks, sorry for all the questions, Joshua. That's why we're here.
We like the questions.
Take away your sorry, or we're kicking you out. All right, just kidding.
Yeah.
Does Eduardo teach English at all, and how would you describe his style of trading? I think he would teach in English if you asked him. But yeah, he does. He obviously caters to a lot of people who are Spanish speaking for good reason. He really is super. What me and Huddie saw in Colombia, he's very passionate about building and growing the community down there, which is an awesome thing to do. And then describe his style of trading. He, I've never heard him disagree with that he's a scalper. because I would say he is, but he does it in a very interesting way that I almost don't feel qualified to try to describe it to you. Like I don't know exactly how he does it. I have a general idea, but what he does is very special because I don't think many traders can do it as well as he does. Do you have a better idea of it, Huddie?
Well, I do think Eduardo speaks English, so that's number one. But I think if you joined his chat room,
You
like
know he speaks English.
I said, I think he does. But if you join his chat room, like he's live on Discord every day, like not every day, but like a couple times a week. I don't know the exact schedule that he's on. But like I was overhearing it just yesterday, and like he is speaking Spanish while he's on that live Discord. So like that's kind of like I guess would be the answer to your question. I don't know what the chat room looks like, but when he's on the live Discord, he's speaking Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, it'd be hard to like be live on that Discord. And like I don't think he would change to English for one person.
But he has done boot camps for us in English.
Yes, yeah, like he can teach you in English. But I think his chat room is more catered towards Spanish speaking individuals.
Right.
How would you describe his style of trading? It's so crazy.
I don't know.
It's like 1,500 executions a day, which is like in and out, right? Um, he's recycling shares, he's trading around a core, and he's just trying to get a good average to be there for the bigger move. I think he trades a lot of framework setups, but for the most part, like it's so different than the way that we trade. It's really hard to like even wrap our minds around. But it works for him, right? Like I always say, 1,000 ways to skin a cat. But yeah, it's a lot of ins and outs. And recycling shares. Like that's the one thing I heard him say all weekend. Is he recycles shares and he holds a core and he's there for a bigger move.
Yeah.
And it's all with a stream deck.
Yeah, he's got the hotkeys going. Jabril says, thoughts on MSTO breakdown? I don't think MSTO is a ticker.
Where's FMTO?
FMTO.
How do you get the letters that mixed up?
I don't know, but they clarified 2 comments
they
later.
did later. I mean, that's not really.
Like,
It's not a breakdown. That's a destruction. That's an atomic bomb of an
crazy.
offering that took it down 98%. Really 99% if you
my.
want to constitute it from the pre-market levels. So no, I unfortunately, or just he just said thoughts. Thoughts. I mean, yeah, it just destruction. Atomic bomb.
There was a extra question about how can you be careful about that move from up 1,000% to 5 cents. That was insane. Never seen anything like that before.
and then right back down.
I mean,
Also
SUNE
rare.
did it literally on Monday, so they're happening right now. How do you protect yourself? You cut where you say you're going to cut. You know,
Dude, pre-market though.
it's difficult.
Oh my god!
If you're not
I would never be long in that, but oh my god!
Yeah. If you're not at your screen, I don't know what to tell you. That's the risk you take. If you're at your screen, then you hopefully are following your risk management as you're there, and you stop out when you say you're going to stop out. And I imagine if you're long FMTO, anywhere pre-market, you're cutting it before $4. And so at least you're saving yourself 80% downside if you saw it. But that's the risk that comes with it to some degree.
It's so scary looking though.
Oh, it's insane.
For me, it's like
2-in-1 week now too, which is crazy.
for me, it's like I don't even see any reason to be long. I think it all comes down to like what patterns someone trades. And when a stock is up like 1,000% and there's no daily chart construct there, at least in my opinion, like why are we even in harm's way at that point? Like we're in small cap. These things are horrible. You better be on defense, and you better be not gambling. You know, like there is risk, right? A lot of these companies are horrible. So like expect the worst and make sure that like if you're taking on any kind of risk, it better be like smart risk.
Yeah, and yesterday it traded like
Zero
never.
volume.
Like it just was a halt machine. Like
Yeah, this is not something I would ever be long or even I can't believe David Hamlin was short. That was pretty crazy.
He just, I think he has his news feed or something. He started short right when he saw the offering, which is epic because he crushed it, obviously.
screw that guy.
Maximize profitability.
Yeah, he did.
Josh asks as well. That's actually an interesting question.
That's so funny.
What is something each of you wrote down and quickly journaled about last week? Well, Josh, getting real intimate here.
Making some assumptions, huh?
I want to know what I write about in my darkest, deepest dreams here.
Go into your diary, page 4.
Paragraph 7, sentence number 2. So actually, last week was pretty busy to where I actually was not able to review.
I think it just means he meant in the last week.
in the last week.
What's something you journaled about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to be frank, I haven't actually written or reflected on any of my trades.
I thought you were Kyle.
Since April, only because I usually do that on the weekends, and last weekend was a very busy time for me, so I didn't actually get to review the first week of April's trades. I'll probably review both weeks together this upcoming weekend. But one mental note I took from the first week was that I just need to stop losing. I'm just like, oh, duh. Real deep, Kyle. But it's just because
Kyle, really, let's dive into that one.
yeah, let's take a deeper dive. How did that make you feel? But I only say that because I made 65. Well, in the entire week of the first week of April, I made 85K from NMAX. Okay, but I only finished the week up 17 grand. Okay.
This is the size we're talking about.
That's well, but even then, that level of size to give back 80%, 75% of my what I deem to be a really good ticker and a really good trade means I'm taking losses in places elsewhere that I probably shouldn't be taking losses. Right? I don't want to say it's over trading, but it was being too freewheeling with the trades that turned into losers, right? There's no big loser. I didn't let any loser turn into a disaster, which is good. But to have a really good trade like NMAX and then give back almost all of it in the same week, not great. Not great at all. So I wanted to go into this week feeling better about that. And so far I've done okay. It's hard to say I've done better when I am taking losses that I'm supposed to be taking. They're just still frequent. So that's my thoughts that I haven't necessarily written.
The main
down.
one is just stop losing, right?
Yep. You just gotta, you gotta see the loser in the future. take your third eye. See
Kyle, what do you think about ticker symbol XYZ? Yeah, no, that's going to be a loser, so we're avoiding that one.
Ticker ABC, yeah, that's going to be a 10x winner, so we're going to take that
It
one.
looks like an A+, but what you don't know is you are going to lose on it.
Thing is, you've underestimated me in telling the future. That's exactly what I do here.
I did in a different way. The same thing. I actually journaled last night about unnecessary trades. I had done some mathematicals and found out that it's already cost me 5K this month by just unnecessary trades that either are not patterns or are at the wrong times. And I'm being a little bit anticipatory or just feel like the need to be in something. I feel like I do this every month. Like there's a week where I feel this way in my gut. Like I just want to push buttons, but it's just not the time. Like there are just weeks in the market when I'm not supposed to make any money, when there just isn't any plays. Like this week, I don't think there's been any breakouts or reversals that worked so far. And it's like, I'm not supposed to win if there's nothing for me to win on. But that doesn't mean I need to lose. Like there have been, like the one I took today, did not need to be in it. And so unnecessary trades, that's something I try to get beginners to really focus on because that's where your margin of error really gets destroyed is, when Kyle says he was up a lot and gave back a lot of it, like that's what beginners do on a daily and weekly basis. And when you stop doing that, like Kyle can afford to do that because he's Kyle and he'll be fine and he knows not to lose now that he did it once. But like you got to hold on to your profits. You have to make sure you're trading real patterns. And I go through 3 to 5 day stretches, I feel like every month where I let that slip. And if you can stop letting that slip for a month, 2 months, 3 months in a row, that's when you truly can see how consistent you are and actually see the results from it because you're not constantly giving back profits for no reason or just shooting yourself in the foot off the profits you do make.
Okay, my turn.
If you'd like.
I've been doing a lot of journaling lately because I'm on a little bit of a drawdown. I'm like 20%, maybe less now, off the highs of my all-time highs. which is kind of significant.
No.
Uh, at least for this, I mean, not all-time high, but like this
Yeah,
account's
of
high.
your career? Yeah, no.
No, of
I'm
this
like,
account's high.
what? That would not just be a little drawdown.
That would be crazy. No, this account's highs. And one of the issues is that again, like I come from a systematic approach, so like I know on paper how the strategy is performing relative to how I'm executing, right? And so like that's why you can never like just like, oh, like I have a profitable strategy on paper, so I'm going to be profitable. Well, you still got to trade it, and I don't have a bot to trade it for me. So, kind of diving into, my notes were like, A, like what can I do to make sure that I don't miss any executions? And then I spent the last 2 days building out scanners on trade ideas that will alert me and make noises when it's time for me to push a button. So again, just like trying to like more optimize my tools so that I can be better prepared. That was one thing I went over. And then also I realized that my sizing wasn't necessarily correct for the patterns that I'm trading. So I kind of revamped how I'm going to size my patterns relative to my risk. So that was all kind of notes that I took and actions that I improved upon. And now I feel like actually really comfortable. I feel like I'm not going to make those mistakes any further.
Beautiful. All right. Question from Glade here. Do you guys have any plans on buying or on playing Fannie Mae for a potential breakout over 8? You know, Glade, I think
Every night I dream about those plans.
I think you answered your question in the question. That is exactly the plans we have, is buying the potential breakout over $8. That daily chart is setting up quite nicely. Now it's just a matter of waiting for can it follow through with what it's teasing us with. Jabril says, how can you be careful about that FMTO move? Oh, wait, we already talked about that. 5 cents makes sense. Answer that
Filter
question.
them in your head, Kyle. Filter them in your head.
Yeah, sorry. All right. Talking out loud. Let's move on. Flash Research says, I'm waiting for Tesla to top and buy a short ETF on it.
I don't even know what that means.
Good. I would wish you luck.
Aren't they part of the Magnetic 7?
Yeah, I don't think that's a smart strategy long term. I genuinely don't. Especially with the robots coming out. I think you will get absolutely steamrolled.
By the robots.
But, what'd you say, Eddie?
Have a good time.
Have a good time. Timmy Trade says, Kyle, do you ever cover NMAX or still swinging for 30? Still swinging. Still in it. Still here.
It went to 30.8.
I know. It got close. If the PR about the 90-day pause didn't come out, I think we would have done it.
Oh, yeah.
But then we bounced. I was like, well, I'm not covering at 30.80. I'm not covering at 35. So,
I like the logic. I like patience. I like patience a lot.
Yeah. Kevin says, sometimes it feels wrong to ignore positive EV setups if it's not in my wheelhouse, but playing it would feel like a lack of focus and not staying in my lane. How do you reconcile this feeling? Yeah, this is a great question because a lot of people deal with this, and it makes me think of a particular young lad I got to meet at our Boston boot camp. Was it last year? No, it was
2023.
2023. So yeah, almost a year and a half ago. And he had a strategy for literally everything. Everything. He had edge everywhere. He's like, I backtested here, I backtested there. I've got 30 things that I know I can make money on. And you want to know how much money he actually made? Zero. Because he tried to do it all. Right? I would say it's very parallel to life, right? You could do anything, you can't do everything. Right? You could be an engineer, you could be an astronaut, you could be, sports related. I'm not gonna say you could be an NBA basketball star because if you're not 7 foot, good luck. But you could be, a coach or a ref, right? You could do really anything, but you can't be an astronaut and an NBA coach, right? You can't do everything. And so
let's not limit ourselves, Kyle.
That's a very limiting belief I have. I'm so sorry, everyone. But when you know there's a setup out there that has EV, but you've already got your 3 or 4 in your playbook, Of course, you want to capture it all, but I promise you, in trying to capture all of it, you will capture almost none of it. So you have to fine tune and just stick to your wheelhouse. And think about it this way: the whole point of EV or profitable trading is money. Just that's it, simple money, right? And you can make a lot of money with just one setup, right? Now, can you make more money with the downward spiral here is, well, what if I make more money with more setups? But the reality is, like, we're here to get rich. Let's call it. Let's make it simple. You don't need 10, 20 setups. You really need like 2. And so finding those 2 should be enough for you, not finding the 20, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps. That's how I think about it.
I have a couple thoughts. One is like, one person's positive EV setup is not necessarily your positive EV setup. Like, I know what Kyle's trying to do with shorting parabolics, or what Huddie's trying to do with certain variations of a gap and crap. But if I don't do it exactly how they do it, will I make money or not? Like, if it could be a losing proposition for me. And you say, if it's not in my wheelhouse, if you have a wheelhouse, be happy in your wheelhouse. Like, I don't see it as being a lack of focus in no, I agree with that part. It would feel like a lack of focus and not staying in your lane. Qual Magi says in a lot of his videos, like, once you've made millions, then you can break rules. And that's kind of how I see a lot of this, because I see a bunch of people in our room all the time who go away from their wheelhouse when they're not profitable. And it's like, let's figure out our wheelhouse first and then worry about going somewhere else. And everyone wants to put the cart before the horse, but get super consistent with what you are doing, make hundreds of thousands or millions, and then you can, if you want every now and then to buy Tesla calls or the SPY calls today, you can do so, even though it's out of your wheelhouse, but you have enough experience and knowledge and money to be able to handle that loss, move on from it. So that's kind of how I see it. I don't think there's anything wrong with staying in your lane for as long as possible.
I like that. You built a wheelhouse, don't be homeless, man. Stay in that wheelhouse.
Stay in the wheelhouse. How great is your wheelhouse if you're constantly leaving it? There's not always the grass ain't always greener in the other wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's very true. Anything to add there, Huddie, or no?
No.
No. All right. Mateo says, Dom, WCT, any interest for first green day? I'm gonna guess no.
No.
Was that China poop?
None of us saw it, so it can't be that good.
Looks kind of like it. Definitely
looks
has
liquidation
those vibes. Yeah, has those vibes.
No, it didn't run that much. 15 cents to 40 cents. Yeah, that's a no for me, dog. It fits the look. Like, if you're just trying to learn the look, I mean, this run was super, super choppy as well. Not clean at all. Very bouncy bally. And if no one's watching it, like, I don't want to be bouncing stocks that none of us like know is a runner, if that makes any sense.
Volume was quite low today. What do you guys think is working most in these markets? Seems like a lot of one-day runners with zero continuation.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
Yeah. That is it.
That doesn't sound like it's working.
Yeah, that doesn't. It's happening. Whether it's working, that depends on the trader.
I would say it's a weird question. I don't think it's a really good question. Like, what is working the most I think is very abstract. What is running the most are like low floats. Like JNPR is a low float. NAOV was a low float. What was today? VERO was a low float. RSLS was, I guess a low float. Like, these were all low float stocks that started spiking really hard. But just because they're spiking, does that even mean it's working? Like, is that really a pattern? So, like, what is working the best? Like, what works the best is always the same exact answer, your playbook. It's not like, a low float ran today, so tomorrow I'm going to buy a low float. Like, you do that, you're going to get burned. I promise you that. So I would caution against that type of like thinking.
Yeah, I guess working is a weird word, but like, what is running is the day ones that I guess maybe I read continuation as like, they aren't turning into multi-day moves. They're just running for a day and then dying
REB is a multi-day
day.
breakout.
Yeah, but that was last week.
Oh, sorry.
That was so last
That
week.
was
That was
literally that
We're
was
so
talking
literally
about
yesterday.
Friday.
we're talking about Thursday this week.
Uh,
We're talking about the now.
I don't know. Lately, I do feel like my brain is like stuck on today, like because there was some good reversals and breakouts last week, but I think it's just yeah. There's a few priorities in the right place. There has been some framework plays from breakouts to first green days, some first red days. I know they haven't been the easiest, but if you are a day one gapper buyer, there's been some big squeezes. If you buy them all, I guess. I don't know how to pick them.
The only thing I've been seeing work, not only thing, but what I've been seeing working obviously with the indexes is like I said earlier, the headline buying. You know, you bought the headline yesterday or on Monday saying there was a 90-day pause or there was going to be a tariff pause, and even though it was fake news, it still offered a huge spike. If you bought that same headline again today, it actually was not fake news; it was real. You made a ton of money that way. So
So we wait for the headline over the next 3 days, 2 days that says we're unpausing, and that's a short.
that could be
That's
a
gonna work the
short.
best.
That could be a short.
Yeah, because we've already had two of the same news and it worked both times. So
Yeah.
if yeah, the market liked it. They wanted it. The market wanted good news.
They were antsy waiting for that sucker.
The thing that's working the best right now was like ideally like buying, the dip on the market was cheap for the past 4 days. Now, how you go about that and with structure is a whole nother thing, but like that's where the most money was made. There are people that made tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if maybe even a billion on today's bounce because they were watching, because they were prepared, and because they knew that the market was cheap. And like just off the frothy PR 2 days ago, we bounced pretty hard. And so then when we got like clarification that it was right, like you already had all the signs there that the market wanted to bounce off these lows. Like things were really cheap. Um, that worked the best, I think.
Yeah. Flash.
And then there's tons of instruments to play that too. Yeah.
Oh, tons. Like too many. You know, like try to narrow it down. Flashnet says, I noticed that many shorts target stocks just under $1 for intraday shorts on runners. Is this true? Thanks for the info. Basing this on a Be the Trader video too. You know, honestly, Flashnet, I think shorts in this space target anything that moves. They are flies on poop. Like if there is a stock up, there is someone shorting it. It is a disease. You know, it is not just stocks under $1. It is stocks at $1. It is stocks at $2. It is stocks at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, $20. They're everywhere. So I don't know specifically. There's, maybe someone has a rhyme or reason or edge for sub $1. That's great. But shorts are willing to stab and step in front of. They're like what's an animal? What's that one animal? Like it sees you move, it's attacking.
Hyena.
Yeah, like there's no.
I was just saying an animal.
Yeah, like a tiger, a
Parakeet.
mouse. I don't know. Whoever hunts its prey, not a mouse, but a cat, right?
A frog.
Yeah, frog or fly.
You gotta be so careful who you listen to on the interwebs. Like first thing, like what's their track record, right? Like that's so important. Um, because you can't just like read something on Twitter and expect that person actually knows what the F they're talking about. I violently disagree that they're targeting. I mean, for mainly the reason that Kyle just said, but like I also violently disagree that like I think most shorts and especially big shorts are not in the sub $1 area. Um, I do think there are shorts that exist in sub $1, but I don't think that there's like a ton of them. I think there's bigger fish to fry, and that's where you're going to find really heavy shorts, right? Um, I like what I think like what does it take for a guy like Sang Lucci who trades options to want to come into small cap and trade a small cap pattern? It's not going to be because there's some sub $1 ticker trading 80 to 200 million shares on the day for some stupid news while it has toxic dilution. Like that's not where he's going to be. He's going to like look at something like Nmax, right? That's like a much bigger fish to fry. So I just don't think you actually have like based off your statement, I don't think there's that big of a concentration. I would not like look at cheap stocks and say, oh, shorts are, and there's like even with that, like when stocks are cheap, think about it. The risk reward isn't as great in terms of like downside. Um the volume and it's just weird. The spreads can be weird. Like everything about cheap stocks, like I don't think big shorts want to be there. Um,
250
in
rule.
my
Yeah, so I was gonna say 250 rule for me is I can't
250
stand
rule, yeah.
250 rule.
250 rule, not a lot of risk reward, and there's one other thing that I keep trying to think of, but I keep forgetting. But 250 rule's a big one too. I can't think of it.
Bill
Oh, commissions.
oh,
Commissions.
yeah.
You know, like the day that RSLS is up, it's like RSLS spiked to $3. And when you're locating the shares that day, before you're even paying ECN fees or anything like that, it was a 5 cent locate. No big short is going to care about that. They're going to say, "Wow, that's dumb." Like, let it go. Not like the like again concentration. Like there are shorts involved, but they're not looking for cheap stocks. I promise you that.
Caleb talks about just the craziness of today and yeah, when it will happen next in 100 years. So put it this way, I saw a tweet that said, in what 2001, 2008, and right now, are the only 3 days, either in the last 20 years or the last 30 years, that the stock market indexes have been up 10% in a single day. So yeah, out of there's 300 something days a year of trading and 280 or 250 over the last 20 years. We're talking thousands of days. There's only been 3. Yeah, it's pretty rare you see the stock market up this big. But I wouldn't say it's that unpredictable, only because the panic was like if this green day happened out of nowhere, like we were like at all-time highs and we went up 10%, that would be crazy. But because we just had a massive sell-off and it was all tied to tariffs and all Trump needed to do was say, hey, tariffs are canceled, like, you know, it's not that, it is crazy, it's not that crazy. I'm sure there were many traders predicting the possibility of this happening for that very reason of like, it's as predictable as just, is Trump going to pause him? You know, you can make that guess for yourself and you know, place your bets from there. So
already paused him once.
yeah, like Dom said, this is the second time that PR came out. And actually, in fact, I would say today was more predictable than Monday. Monday was like out of the blue, but today it's like now that they've said it once, you know, what are the odds they say
Monday
it again?
also aligned with like the capitulation play, right? Like day 3 gap down. So there was already a bunch of people watching it. So that was like the extra fuel that made them the zero TTEs and stuff run so much further. Like that was like a 40-point move too, wasn't it? Like 480 to 520 or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but
So funny. I love the PR that said like we asked everyone in the White House, no one knows about the 90-day pause. And I was like, what is there? Is there a reporter like literally like going into each office and saying, hey, did you hear about this?
Did you
Hey, did you hear about this? Okay, I asked everyone. No one knows. Let's tweet about it.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder.
2 days later,
It makes me wonder if that person who created that rumor or that PR, like Trump heard it, was like, "Yeah, 90 days," and then today was like, "Just put it out," you know, because it looks like now it makes that person look like they were onto something, like they may have heard
We're
of the
onto
inside
something.
if they were already talking about it, but who knows? Kevin talks about focusing on like you said, really helped me focus. But not feeling like I'm doing well enough. You know, newsflash, Kevin, and I hate to burst your bubble, you will probably always feel that way. I am 9 years in and still feel that way, that I am not doing well enough as I could. That is the perfection or the strive to always want to be better, when the reality is that is the being better, is the striving. You're never going to reach peak level. Like, you're not perfect. No one is. Not me, not you, not your grandma,
Dude, and
not my mom, right? Like, that
Really?
feeling
Not your
will
mom.
always be there. So
in 2017, I had to like literally put a post-it note on my screen that said, "Do not buy breakouts, only short first red days." And like I had to watch Dom slay every single breakout and pass me in profits in this moment. And I couldn't play them, but I knew that for every successful breakout that he had, I would have a first red day around the corner, right? So it's really it's again, just stay in your lane, and like if you have a good pattern, like just trade that, and like one pattern can do you so much justice.
agreed. Josh asks, and I think this is a good question for Dom. Would you guys recommend avoiding day 1 completely and looking for multi-day or day 2 breakouts or breakdowns on lower volume to build consistency?
well, if you want me to
We
answer, I
don't
can.
we don't recommend anything.
I think everyone should do what they want to do. I don't know very many people that can be long bias on day one consistently. Like Roland has always been an anomaly to me with how he's been able to navigate many different markets. Like he's like an artist with day ones. And I still don't get how he's doing it, how he's picking the ones that work and deciding how far they can run based on the current market condition and environment. I have always avoided day one on the long side. I have always avoided it for the most part until Huddie really started to break down the data for the short side of day one and where the edge really lies there, which makes me really less interested in buying day ones. So I think if you're looking for true consistency, like day ones are, there are so many that stocks that are between like 30%, 100% up on the day at like 9:30 a.m. Like finding a way to narrow that down when you're just looking at all those is very difficult. So, Kyle for the most part is waiting. I'm for the most part waiting. Huddy only really waits on the really good ones. But like when stocks get out of that day one and now they're in a continuation phase, they're on day two, day three, they're truly overextended. We've learned how they traded. We know their type of action, their behavior. We know more about the fundamentals. Everything gets easier when you can relate it to an exact moment that you should be trading versus just on day one when the stock's been trading for 20 minutes in pre-market. This is the first time we've ever seen it run. It's very difficult to feel like you actually can do the same thing every time and make money, or know that you're doing the right thing every single time in that time frame without having data behind it. So there's no recommending, but all the stuff that we teach is usually waiting for some sort of real pattern across multiple days, because day one is just, there's not enough information to know what kind of potential the stock has unless it's a runner we've seen many, many times. Like MLGO, how many times has that one squeezed 500%, and run all day long? A couple times now. So, but for the most part, I avoid day one.
I mean, beautifully said. I got nothing to add there. Alrighty, last couple questions before we close it out here. This is a great question.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. What would you each say is the hardest / most difficult part about trading?
Huddy? Kyle?
I have an
Had
answer.
his mouth open. Yeah, Kyle had his mouth open.
I'll let you guys go if you have an answer though.
No, do you have one?
I got one.
Then do it.
It is, can you do what you say you're going to do? Right? And I've heard Huddie say this all the time. Everyone can figure out what a breakout looks like. Right? Everyone can find out and quantify how to identify a first red day or a gap and crap or whatever setups under the sun. That's not difficult to do. That is as easy as 6th grade math, right? That is doable. What's difficult is when you are then in the stock, feeling all the emotions you're feeling, risking all the money you're risking. Can you enter the trade when you say you're going to enter? Can you exit the trade when you say you're going to exit? Right? Can you then keep the profits or minimize the losses as time goes on? Like, there's just so much willpower and focus and discipline that is required that like trading teaches you so much about yourself that you wouldn't have known anywhere else otherwise. And then it massively puts you to the test of how well you are good at that said thing, which is like, can you just do what you say you're going to do or you plan to do, right? And it's crazy, but most people sadly can't do that, right? They can't listen to themselves, which is crazy, but it's just true. Even profitable traders, like again, yeah. I screw up all the time. I will say I'm doing one thing, and all of a sudden I'm doing something else, right? But it's like, can you quickly correct that and minimize that as much as possible? That's the key, for sure, for me, in my experience.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that's a really good one. I think it kind of falls into the discipline camp, but when you put it like that, like, can you do what you say you're going to do? And it's a weird type of thing because it like only affects you. Like the only person who has any control over that is you. Like, and I talked about this in the webinar yesterday for Four Leaf. I can lead you to the water, but I cannot make you drink. I can give you the patterns. I can give you the spreadsheets. I can tell you to track. I can tell you to go through and do reviews and study your performance and your data and make decisions based on the future. I can tell you not to overtrade, not to take unnecessary trades, only trade one pattern. But like on a random Thursday in March, can you follow that through? Can you not take an unnecessary loss? Can you not fight a stock that you've already lost once on, 2 times, 3 times on, and not have a 10-hour red day? Like, so I agree with Kyle. I think, can you do what you say you're going to do? Because the way the path to profitability isn't as hard as people make it seem. We make it really, really hard. So no matter what stage you're in, what level you're in, I think that's really important. I think for a long time, the hardest thing and like the number one skill set you need is like resilience. Like this is an industry like where you are supposed to fail. And that's because of a lot of our human psychology and the way we think and the way we view the world. But you need to be resilient, and it'll come about throughout. You will be tested so many times throughout your career. I mean, look at last year with Fifi. Like, we're veteran traders, and like we got hosed. Like, we allowed something as crappy as a 5-cent stock running to 4 to like, what Kyle lost was insane. Like, but for what I was risking, insane. Like, and that was like year 9. Like, it's ridiculous. But you have to be resilient to show up the next day, to keep on in the beginning, to keep taking the ass kicking, even though you're not making money, you're consistently losing, you're just trying to break even. And that's a long journey for some people. I know Huddie took a lot longer than others, a couple years. He had to be resilient for a long time, and some people just can't take it. They just can't deal with getting kicked in the face over and over and just keep getting up. I think Rocky, he said it in his big speech, right? It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I think that's so important in this, because you got to do it every day, and you're going to run into situations in year 3 and year 5 and year 10 where it is going to suck. We've all been through drawdowns. I think Kyle's probably been the least victim of this, but several times in my career, I've had 3 to 6 month stretches where I haven't made any money or lost money. And after I'm making hundreds of thousands or millions, and that hurts. That sucks. That's a lot harder to deal with than it is getting profitable the first time. So you got to have some sort of level of resilience to be able to keep showing up even when times are hard.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you said, and I think those are great points. And the last one that like kind of like sometimes ruptures my brain is like comparing yourself to others. And like really just like focusing on yourself and your own development and like doing what works for you, and not trying to be the person that's like, oh, like this person made so much money, like I need to be better and I need to do more, and then like you come to the market and you just absolutely botch yourself. um I think there's so much comparison, there's so much competition amongst traders, and I think it can be like very toxic for especially like that intermediate level where like you kind of know what you're doing and you've made some money, um, and you look up to some people and they're doing things that you don't normally do, or they're making way more money on the things you do. So you really try to push yourself to that next level. And like I think that can be very, very tough on the intermediate level of traders. So like, I always say like competition with others, it is good. Like I definitely got motivated watching, Dom pass me in profits and Kyle pass me in profits. Like that definitely forced me into like a situation during the pandemic to really push myself. But in reality, like the most important is competition with yourself. Like how can you beat yourself? How can you be a better trader every day? Not relative to what Dux is doing, what Kyle's doing, what Jack is doing, what Short Pair is doing. It doesn't matter. That's all just like shiny little coins. It has no effect on you.
Beautiful words, Mr. Hudson. Alrighty, one last question, and then we'll get on out of here. Coming up on the hour. Josh question: any upcoming discounts on 3-leaf and 4-leaf? The last discount we just gave was for bootcamp goers who went to the LA bootcamp. We always offer discounts to those participants. But in March, we also had 4-leaf, or no, not 4-leaf. We had St. Patrick's Day. I mean, until the next holiday, 4th of July?
Memorial Day?
Yeah, maybe a little.
Wait, my birthday is at the end of next month.
There we go. Yeah, we did do a sale for Dom's birthday. That was pretty fun. So maybe we try to throw one in, but at the moment, nothing planned. In general, the last quarter and the first quarter, Q1 and Q4 are generally the most jam packed for discounts, just because that's where the holidays are. But yeah, if you're thinking about it, just stay tuned. And one will come along your way. But at the same time, if you want to get in the room, feel free to join till then. And we always can prorate. What's it called?
Yeah, if you want to get in and then a deal comes about, you can basically just cancel and redo it with a better deal if you want to.
Right. Well, all right, everybody. If I didn't get to your question or comment, feel free to save it either in the actual Clover room or next one Wednesday or next Good Morning NASDAQ tomorrow, 8:45 Eastern. Dom and Huddie will be there to hold it down, and then Huddie and I will have a webinar tomorrow for you for the Clovers. So without further ado, have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Any last special words of wisdom to leave them with?
Huddie?
Beauty is in the eye of the holder.
The only way to do great work is to love what you do.
There we go. Nice.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Don Master Mateo.
It's true. And be the change you wish to see in the world, obviously.
There we go. Is that Gandhi? I don't remember.
But I think it is. Yeah.
I think it might be Gandhi.
And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Huddie.
Michael Hudson. All right. All right, everybody. Have a great Wednesday night, and we